My dad's in the hospital, so that's a very tough speech to follow. So in July 14th, 2002, it was an ordinary day for my husband and I. We like to go to Flagstaff. That's where we spend our summer weekends. We go to Flagstaff and hang out. This particular day was like no other, typical rain showers, not a big deal. Closer to the afternoon, we started checking the weather forecast because we fly back and forth. We have a very small four-seater plane, and we like to make sure we want to know what the monsoonal activity is in the valley before we take off, because you really don't want to get caught in a monsoon. We took off as normal. It was a little rainy. We knew it was going to be bumpy. There were scattered cells in the area, so we took off. It was uneventful until we got a little ways north of Scottsdale. We saw the infamous wall of dust, the side of Chandler, the big taboo that we all know and love. We knew we weren't going to make it to Chandler, so we started calling at the various airports, Scottsdale, Falcon Field, what are the particular winds in that area, and they were 60 gusting to 70 miles an hour. We weren't going to land. At that point, we can do a demonstrated 16, 18 mile an hour wind. We can't do much further than that, much higher than that. On a fluke, my husband decided to call Sky Harbor, and I don't know why, but Sky Harbor was reporting 4 mile an hour winds. So we took our opportunity. We filed our flight plan, or it wasn't a flight plan, but we talked to Sky Harbor and we said, okay, we're going to come in and land. And they said, look, we got jets coming in, we're going to have to send you east for a little ways. They send us east. It's incredibly bumpy. It's seat belts tight, laps are tight, the wings are moving. We finally make our descent into Sky Harbor. Everything's fine. We get to the end of the runway. Life is good. We're at the terminal where the private planes are allowed to park. That should be the end of the story. It's not. As we're tying down the plane, the wings, the front wheel, the tail of the plane, my husband sees this terrific hangar in the distance with the private plane in there and says, can you please put my plane in there? And they say, no, we don't have enough time. We have the storm coming in. So we do our best. We tie down the plane. We run inside about the time that the lights go out. 2 of the terminals in Sky Harbor also had blackouts at that time. They lost all lights till the generators were up. We're gritty, we're wet. We get inside the terminal and we call a cab. Pretty soon our cab comes and picks us up and we take off. And I'm not sure what happened. It was pretty dark, but their cab driver hit something. Body tree, I'm not sure. The right tire, we hit a bump. It's like crap. And the tire flattens in the back right. I don't know where I am. I know I'm somewhere around Sky Harbor. It's very dark. I know there's some warehouse areas. I see Adams Street. I know that this probably isn't a great location. The driver says, well, I can take you back to the airport. I said, no. No, I want that building. That building has lights. So he takes us what turns out to be a hospital and drops us off at the emergency room, and he takes off. I'm not sure how he did on the flat tire, but he takes off. Now, I don't want to be judgy, but I'm pretty sure there was a prostitute on the bench. The emergency room door, because I just remember she looked... I'm sorry. We walk into the emergency room and try to blend in with everybody because we're going to wait out the storm now. And we did. I sit down and I'm talking to a gentleman beside me. He asked what happens because I'm sure I'm a mess. So I tell him, he said, don't worry about it. I can take you home. It's okay. I said, no, that's fine. He said, no, I'm finishing up. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, my brother was shot. I'm sorry. He said, no. He chose the wrong path, and I said, no, deal with your problems, we can find it. Our second cab driver came. He pulled up, and I remember driving down the 60, we were headed east, somewhere past rural. He goes, huh. I said, what's wrong? He said, well, I think I'm running out of gas. My husband says, no. My wife's had a really bad day. Pull over, let's get some gas. No, I'll be all right. He takes us south onto the loop and makes a right-hand turn on Chandler Boulevard, and the car dies. We have enough momentum that he actually is able to pull over to the side, and he keeps turning the ignition and nothing happens. He said, put it in gear. He turns it, put it in gear. he keeps turning it, and I said, put it in gear. So he finally puts the car in gear, and away we go, and we get back to the house, and everything's fine. I remember opening the cab door and stepping out on the street sign because the storm had also attacked our neighborhood, and our street sign was laying on the pavement. We didn't have much sleep that night because the plane means everything to my husband. I refer to it as the metal mistress in the house. So we didn't sleep much that night. As soon as it got light, we went back out to Sky Harbor. The closer we got, you could see news helicopters everywhere. What had happened was it was one of the top monsoon storms. Winds were 70, gusting to 100 miles an hour. There was $70 million damage at Sky Harbor. Private planes were affected, commercial planes were affected, hundreds of cars were damaged in the storm. We got to the plane, everything was fine. You could tell it shifted, and it took our tie downs and bent them just a little bit. But as we looked at that beautiful hangar where my husband wanted the plane, it happened to be Mr. Bash's jet. And there was a steel beam that went right through the center of it. So my husband was very grateful. It took a couple days before my life settled down, and my husband said, well, can we see the sense of humor in this? And I said, yeah, I think so. And he said, good, because when you get scared, you kind of sound like Satan.